I welcome you to the chair again. And Monsieur le vice-président, depuis le mercredi 15 février, le litre d'essence est passé de 38 roupies 85 à 42 roupies 70 et le litre de diesel coûte désormais 32 roupies 45. Le gouvernement n'a aucunement respecté sa promesse, une de nombreuses faites à l'électorat durant la dernière campagne électorale, à l'effet qu'il ferait baisser le prix de l'essence et du diesel de 10 roupies. En 2013, le prix des carburants était de 111 $ le baril. Il était à 99 $ en 2014 et 55 $ en 2015 et de 44 $ le baril en 2016, atteignant même par moment le 30 $ le baril, soit son niveau le plus bas pour les périodes que je mentionnais. Il y en a différents tableaux qui l'attestent. On peut consulter de nombreux sites d'Internet. Alors que le prix de l'essence et du diesel a baissé par plus de 50%, le gouvernement n'a pas pu passer aux consommateurs les baisses successives sur le cours international du pétrole. Au lieu de baisser les prix, le gouvernement remplit les caisses de l'État. Dans la logique du consommateur, la question est simple. Comment le baril du pétrole qui avait atteint les 140 $ et le prix de l'essence fixé à l'île Maurice à cette époque où on avait atteint les 140 $ le baril, le prix était de 49 roupies 50 le litre. Et aujourd'hui, lorsque le baril de pétrole, je veux dire aujourd'hui, ce matin, le baril de pétrole est à 55 $ le baril, on nous fait payer 42 roupies 70 le litre d'essence. Quelle est la logique dans cette prix pour les consommateurs? Certains peuvent arguer que le taux du dollar n'est pas pareil, mais même ça, quand on prend en compte le montant, le baril du dollar 140 roupies, quand on compare à maintenant 55 roupies, le compte n'y est pas. Donc, Monsieur le vice-président, venons à la STC. Et là, une question à l'honorable ministre Ganga qui a parlé de transparence dans son discours. Ce matin, j'ai vérifié le site web de la STC et, à mon grand étonnement, les comptes publiés, les comptes audités, comme on dit les final accounts, il n'y en a pas pour les années 2015 et 2016. Il y en a pour toutes les années précédentes jusqu'à 2014. Allez savoir pourquoi? Parce que selon mes informations, la STC a fait des milliards de roupies de profit et des milliards de dividendes a été distribués au gouvernement pour renflouer le Consolidated Fund. Donc, j'aurais aimé que le ministre, peut-être plus tard dans un statement, nous dise pourquoi les comptes de la STC ne sont pas encore rendus publics, mais je parle des comptes de l'année 2015 et même pour l'année 2016. Le gouvernement n'est pas assez transparent en ce qui concerne tous les profits qui ont été faits par la STC, même sur les dépenses en matière de subsides sur les denrées alimentaires de base. Les dépenses encourues sur les subsides sont bien moindres que l'argent qu'ils récoltent en termes de lévies. L'impact des prix de carburant ne sera pas sans conséquence pour les foyers mauriciens avec un revenu moyen. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, let me say a few words on the automatic price mechanism. The end result is that today the automatic price mechanism has absolutely no credibility left. You can ask anybody in Mauritius and they will tell you that government decides. And besides, we all remember what the minister said, that government is government, government decides. This is absolutely true. And it is the truth because government puts into the price structure which is approved automatically by the automatic price mechanism. Government and the STC decide what to put in that. It was supposed to reflect the movement of prices of freight rates and of the dollar. The so-called automatic price mechanism no longer does anything of the sort. The consumers of the country and the traveling public have definitely not benefited from the drastic fall from 140 USD per barrel to 30. And now, as I said earlier, the price is turned around 55 USD. And even now, the price of the petroleum product on the world market stands at less than half of what it was some years before when it was at its peak. This drastic crash in the world prices of petroleum products has not been transferred to the consumers and the traveling public. The consumers and the traveling public have not benefited from this drastic crash, as I said earlier. We, from this side of the House, are against this most recent maximum increase and are therefore in favour of this motion because it is unfair and unacceptable that consumers, the population in general and the travelling public have not benefited from this crash in world prices and in freight rates because of other items of expenditure. Now, coming back to the STC. Another point that I want to make is the fact that there is an absolute lack of transparency at the STC. And therefore, the same thing applies to the automatic price mechanism. There is absolutely no transparency. We have been trying for years now to get a copy of the contract for the purchase of petroleum products overseas, signed by the STC with a foreign firm. But up to now, we have never had a copy of this contract. We don't know. We don't know what's in it. And again, I would say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the government boasts itself so much about good governance and transparency. But when it comes to their doing, it's total opacity. And this is not the only case where we are talking about total opacity. When we had the project of Heritage City, again, it was the same thing, total opacity. When it comes to the project of the Metro Express, again, the report that we have asked has not yet been tabled. Last week in the House, we talked about the MOU that has been signed for the development of Agaliga. Again, there is no contract that has been made public. Total opacity in relation to all these government projects. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, my point is we still today insist that the contract for the petroleum products should be made public so that we know, as I said, what is in there, how long and what price, what are the freight rates, who decides, who discusses, who fixes the price. Une absence totale de transparence, especially as far as the freight rate is concerned. This is, for me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, unacceptable. And for all this total and unacceptable absence of transparency, who is paying for that again? Who is paying for that again? It's the consumers, it's the population and the travelling public at large who is paying for this price. If we, from this side of the House, we have led to the table of this Assembly this motion, it is because the public wants an explanation. The public cannot go on suffering on any more from this price increase in this country. We all know that this increase in price of petroleum products would affect our economic growth and consequently our social peace. Our economic growth has been affected. The figures promised by the first, I would say the first finance minister, but rather the magician, I would call him. He, at the time, the so-called Alliance Les Peuples, he was fantasizing of a GDP growth of 5.7%. And today itself, I was reading the electoral manifesto of the Alliance Les Peuples, the so-called Alliance Les Peuples. It was betting on a GDP growth of 6% annually. And today, where are the official figures? It's not even 4% that we are talking. And now, with this increase in fuel prices, surely which will affect our GDP growth. And we've got to pay for the increase in price as a result of this regulation. And the public at large is protesting and asking for explanation of this increase. True it is, in the course of the debates, the Honourable Minister, he tried to play the fire extinguisher to come to annihilate the misgivings and the fears of each and everyone to give some explanation. There have been some figures which have been given to us, some of them very technical, of course, and even when we, as Member of Parliament on this side of the House, we are not satisfied with explanation and the figures that has been given to us. Least of all, how would the public outside be able to consume this exercise that he has put before us? There is still a lot unanswered question which what he was given to us. And as I said earlier, the contract for the petroleum product, we still await such contract. Et là, Monsieur le Vice-président, nous réclamons simplement l'annulation de l'augmentation de la prélèvement puisé sur chaque litre de carburant afin de financer le Build Mauritius Fund, laquelle prélèvement a été porté à 4 roupies l'année dernière, alors que des produits pétroliers avaient dégringolé sur le marché mondial. Cette surtaxe avait rapporté un montant de 1,625 milliard de roupies pour l'année financière 2015-2016. Et répondant à une question parlementaire la semaine dernière, le Premier ministre et ministre des Finances de surcroît a déclaré que as at 7 April of 2017, that is now, il y a une balance de 5,3 milliards de roupies dans le Build Mauritius Fund. Monsieur le Vice-président, je trouve ça absolument choquant que malgré cette somme colossale dans le Build Mauritius Fund, on a osé encore augmenter le prix de l'essence, le prix du diesel, et le gouvernement continue à renflouer les fonds du Build Mauritius Fund. Et je dois vous dire, un des objectifs de ce fonds était de financer le remplacement des tuyaux de la CWA. Et durant cette même année financière, terminant 2016, seulement 10 millions de roupies a été puisé de ce fonds pour les remplacements des tuyaux. Et les montants non utilisés sont de temps en temps transférés dans le Consolidated Fund. Et le précédent orateur avant moi, l'honorable ministre Gayan, et il avait un de ses arguments. He stated that all these levy has a purpose. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, what is the purpose of having 5.3 billion rupees in the fund and not using it? Through a PNQ of the then leader of the opposition, On June 2016, and answering to this question, the Minister of Finance, now Prime Minister, he himself stated in this PNQ, I will quote from Hansard, I will say what is not acceptable is that we are being late on a number of projects. In fact, I have to be honest, CWA for all these replacements of pipes and investment has been earmarked for reservoir and so on. I believe that we have tried to move forward as quickly as possible because this is a priority for government. And in fact, my colleague, the Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Energy and Public Utilities, spoke to me. I'm sure that he is seeing to it that these projects are materialized as soon as possible. So my point is, all these projects that has been earmarked, very few of them has been materialized. Even the Honourable Prime Minister has said it, but it is not acceptable that all these projects are being very late. But what we continue on doing is we continue on charging 4 rupees per litre to the population, increasing the fund to 5.3 billion rupees, and not at the same time spending it on what should have been the purpose. And what is the explanation? What is the reason that we will do it? It has been 2.5 years now since you are in office, and the fund is increasing. You are increasing your levy and everything. But up to now, as I can go on the PNQ, on the number of projects, we've seen that in 2016, only 8 million rupees has been used for the replacement of water pipes for the CWA. So my point, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is that it's absolutely shocking that we are continuing with this Build Mauritius Fund. Pour moi, la surtaxe de 4 roupies par litre est supérieure à l'augmentation de 3,85 roupies sur l'essence et 2,85 roupies sur le diesel. L'abolition de la surtaxe aurait permis d'éviter l'augmentation des prix du carburant. Nous, de ce côté de la Chambre, nous sommes contre cette augmentation et nous dénonçons haut et fort cette augmentation injuste et insupportable. Maintenant, Monsieur le Vice-président, par rapport à ce que l'honorable Ratna avait dit précédemment, par rapport in relation to what he said earlier, as if we are the only government that has come with this levy. And now, please allow me to use the very word of the Honourable Vice Prime Minister, Honourable Colin Davelu, in a PQ dated 17th of November 2015. In fact, it wasn't you, it was Madam Speaker who was chairing the sitting. And what he said, Mr. Colin Davelu, in his answer, this day is International Rubbish Day, because that is the greatest rubbish I have ever heard, even greater than what I heard this morning. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, when I said in a sitting position that the honourable member was talking rubbish, I was not wrong at all. I was not wrong at all, because the honourable Deputy Prime Minister used that. Thank you for your ruling, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Now let me give you another example. When you were in the chair, when the Honourable Mento directed this word to a member of this assembly, and let me quote from Hansard, he said that listening to the movers... Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, but it's very sad today that when the Deputy Prime Minister uses this word, he is allowed. When the Minister uses this word, he is allowed. When a mentor uses it, he is allowed. Order. Order. Honourable Tahula.
I just rule on it that if it is a general remark, it won't be sanctioned. But if it is a personal remark, then you will be called to order. Please conclude your speech.